The Firebirds Fan Zone is all about sharing the Coachella Valley Firebirds fan experience. So if you're enjoying the show, please remember to subscribe and hit the notifications button so you never miss an episode. If you're really enjoying the show, please feel free to share it with the world. And of course, hit that like button. Okay, if you're ready, we're ready. So let's get into it. 3, 2, 1.
Firebirds goal! Scoring his 13th goal of the playoff. The captain, number 17, Max McCormick, assisted by number 19, Cameron Hughes. Welcome to the Firebirds Fan Zone with your hosts, David and Kyle.
Wow, that's pretty good. We're rolling.
We are rolling.
And this is how the show always starts. It's just we do the intro thing and we just start talking. So Kyle, today, first things first, we got to thank Jaime and Palm Valley Insurance for
those guys out
hooking
there
us up with another show.
And we're getting ready to get into a new market, and those guys actually know how to shift and adjust, and they actually, again, have helped us many times. So call those guys, Jaime and the Palm Valley Insurance Company. Those guys are amazing, so thank you guys.
And they do pretty cool work, too, just saying.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
All right, so we've got in the seat today, I'm going to have to read some bio. I know I don't normally do this. I got to read some bio stuff because this cat... You just wait. Are you ready? All right, here we go. I'm going to take my glasses off because I can be able to read my writing here. This guy that we're going to talk to today is the conductor of an orchestra of chaos.
Okay.
I'm just telling you right now.
Insert the guy makes
the guy makes the impossible look effortless.
Okay.
This is a guy who lives and breathes to make sure that we all have the best time, whether it's a hockey game or a concert or a rodeo or the bucket list event that we never thought we'd be able to go to. Check this out. He was an offensive lineman at USC. 91, gets a job next door at the sports arena at the Coliseum as an event coordinator, right? What do you do out of college? Works his way up to president of Spectra, where he oversees like 10,000 people. The guy's been responsible not only for building and growing event centers, but booking some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. Hey, getting big right now? We're lucky enough to have him at Acrisure and the Firebirds. We're definitely lucky enough to have him in the chair today, and that's just a glimpse of what we're going to talk about. Guys, we got John Page.
John Page
so
in
awesome. The seat.
Welcome to the Van Zone.
Welcome, the Van Zone.
Keep
I'm
talking.
excited.
I know, right? Feel pretty good, right?
Keep pumping me up.
Did you know you did all that stuff?
I was just talking to my wife on the phone, and she traveled back to the East Coast yesterday, and I had a dental procedure yesterday, and she didn't even care about that. She didn't even ask me how I was doing. She's out having fun with her friends, but you guys are my true friends now.
Yeah, exactly. Here we are. So listen, the first question for every guest is, who the hell are you? Tell us your story. Start from the beginning.
Well, simple roots. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Lived there until I was 11. My dad worked for Allstate Insurance, and they opened a big regional office just north of San Diego in Rancho Bernardo. So we moved when I was 11. Very apprehensive about the move, but it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Grew up there in Escondido, got involved in football, hadn't played. I was a baseball, soccer guy. Kind of grew. Obviously, my friends all say I grew up nicely, being 6'5".
Rancho Bernardo, you said?
Escondido, yeah.
You grew up nicely. That's a pretty nice area.
So it was great. And then had an opportunity, playing football and just kind of listened to coaches and, was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to get a scholarship to play at USC. So it was just a tremendous opportunity to do that. Thought I'd always live in Southern California for my entire life. Before I moved to Philly, though, I did have an opportunity to go back to graduate school, got a master's, and then this opportunity arose at the LA Coliseum and Sports Arena. I knew I didn't want to be a 9-to-5 guy, so I didn't really know what that entailed. So just did some research and used my connections at USC, got my foot in the door over there, entry-level job.
What'd you do? What was your job?
It was an event manager, event coordinator. So it was, it's how you learn the business. So you do a lot of the production liaison work, making sure the shows have all the things that they need. USC was my client. So, talking to them about just different aspects when the visiting team's showing up, and then communicating all those things to our staff, putting together event estimates, settling shows. We did a lot of unique things there, just in and around the Coliseum grounds. We had lowrider car shows. We did a lot of Hispanic Latin dances. It's funny being here. Some of the artists that we've had here, we had back in the day, back in the 90s in their infancy.
You were booking them?
We
had
a group. Them? Yeah, we were working with them, back at the LA Sports Arena. So it was really kind of a tremendous kind of look back, blast from the past. But I really got excited about being in the business and was there 2.5 years. And the gentleman I worked for, Peter Luco, he had an opportunity to go back to Philly. Ed Snyder created the company that we worked for called SMG. And Ed was the original owner of the Philadelphia Flyers. Got the team back in 1967, and he created a private management company that oversaw arenas, stadiums, and convention centers. So Peter went back to Philly to work directly with Ed to clean up the spectrum. There was a lot of issues just in terms of management and how things were liaisoning back and forth with the team. And then Peter called me 6 months later, asked me if I'd come back. They were getting ready to build the new arena at the time, which opened in 96. So I told them as a condition of employment that I would move. I never thought I would leave Southern California, but hence I had an opportunity to go to Philly and spent 30 great years there.
Whoa.
30 years in Philly.
30 years.
30 years in Philly, yeah. I moved there in October of 93, and then I got back here in January of 23.
I thought 2 years in Baltimore was something.
Can we rewind
a
little? Can we rewind a little bit? I'm curious, you were in college, you're playing football, you're with USC, and then you're leveraging that position to then be the boots on the ground. Is that kind of what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
As you're coming out of college and you're leveraging those relationships?
Absolutely, because, USC being a tenant at the Sports Arena with their men's basketball program, we do a few women's games, and then obviously football being at the Coliseum, just using your connections. And USC being a private school, you're a Trojan for life. That's always kind of the mantra. So, talked to our athletic director. He made a call, and kind of vouched for me.
What had you heading in that direction? I mean, what had you turned on to that?
It just seemed exciting, being around sports and knowing that it's something I had a passion for. I worked in the weight room for a couple years as a graduate assistant. I didn't think I wanted to go down the coaching path, just it was so volatile. But I didn't realize how much was involved in the event business and the need to move if you really want to grow, and get to the next level, have different experiences. So,
and you're goal oriented, obviously. You're one of those persons that just
see it, achieve it, set it again, achieve it, set it again.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted, when I first got my foot in the door, I was like, I want to be the general manager of the LA Coliseum and Sports Arena.
Heck yeah.
So, knowing that and, I was kind of going down that path to potentially be an assistant general manager. Things changed, went to Philly, kind of started all over again, but then grew through the ranks and took on additional responsibility working closely with Peter. So we did that, we kind of went down that path until 2000. In 1998, backing up, not to get things complicated, Ed sold his interest in the management company. So we had a 2-year non-compete. And we got right back in the business in 2000. We bought a small little management company that had 5 accounts. So we put in the Wells Fargo Center and the Spectrum at the time to get to 7, and then just went out and eventually rolled that up to almost 200 arenas and stadiums, convention centers that we were managing when I departed in 2021.
And you were in charge of all that?
I eventually became the president of Spectra Venue Management. So, a lot of travel, a lot of competition, and it wasn't through merger and acquisition. It was through the organic approach of RFPs competing for the business. So.
Plus, there was, because when I was reading the resume, and it was really impressive, I want to call you John Legend, if that's okay, because
ChatGPT's got a lot of stuff on you.
I mean, it was. I was really shocked. I was going to Dave with this, going, man, I had no idea. It just, the depth of it. And how did it go from your perspective, there you are, boots on the ground, to now we're managing everybody. What was your big takeaway from that?
Well, it's all about the people. This business is really interesting because we don't make anything. We don't manufacture it. It's all about experiences.
You make memories?
Experiences, memories, but it's not, we're not building widgets and we're not a factory. It's all about the people. It's how we train them. It's how they interact with others. It's how we do create experiences, not only for the fans, the artists, production crew, everybody that we touch. It's critically important that they have a great experience so that we can build on that and repeat it time and time again. Because our success is based on volume. That's how we make.
What's the magic recipe, or is there one?
A lot of it's knowledge and it's experiential learning. It's doing it time and time again. You don't know it until you experience it. And I tell a lot of the young people that get involved in the business, you may be confused and perplexed about what you're doing and how you're doing it. But once you get through that first year and you have a chance to repeat the cycle, the light bulb goes off and then you get it. And then you can really start to make great strides in being a bigger part of the team, so to speak, and really contributing at a high level.
And so do you feel like it's one of those, like my industry, I know Dave's industry, it's either you love it or you don't, because you have to show up every day to it, and you have to, like you said, we're not building something, we're out providing something.
For sure. I mean, this is a business where you have to really understand that it becomes a lifestyle. And, whether it's your family members, because it's nights, it's weekends, it may be 10, 12, 15 nights in a row, depending on where you're at. And you don't just show up at 4 for a 7 o'clock event. You're there bright and early. You may get out of the arena or stadium or convention center at midnight, and you're back in there at 8 or 9 o'clock the next day to restart the cycle and reboot. So
it's like a bar owner, like a restaurant owner that's just
Really there is, isn't it?
7 days a week,
basically. I mean, that's
but I'm a business owner. I'm not there till midnight.
But it's very similar.
4.
It's very similar. I mean, because there is food service, there is ticketing. You got to have the facility clean. You got to change it over from one event to the next. So there's a lot of coordination, a lot of communication, and just a lot of management, making sure everybody's up for the task and we're staffed properly.
Well, how do you? Well, I was going to say, how do you manage all that? How do you, the systems, the people in place? Like, how do you, those spinning plates that's amazing.
It's a lot of question and answers. It's making sure that you ask the people the right question. Are they staffed properly? Do you know what we're doing and how we're going to do it? Are we comfortable when this show that is going to end at 11 or 12? They have this many trucks in some cases. Are we comfortable with the crew that we have to get the show out in time and then be ready maybe for ice the next morning, so that our ice tech has enough time to prep the surface and it's ready for practice the next day. So it's, everybody gets into a routine. And the good news about the business, for the most part, arenas typically are seasonal. October through April is when we're really busy. It slows down in the wintertime a little bit, or in the summertime a little bit, but
summer's our winter.
Yeah, here it is. But short of that, I mean, it's just about constantly being engaged and understanding all aspects of the business. So, you get it done. Like I always tell, when I was overseeing our venue management company, the general managers general manage. So you have to know enough about everything, but you have to rely on the specialists to get everything done and make sure you manage them and give them all the resources necessary.
That's great.
So let's go back in time for a second. So you're a kid out of USC. You get your first event manager job. You're just kind of, next thing you know, 9 years, 10 years later, which isn't that much time, you're running the Wells Fargo Center. And how does one not make that transition, but your first day, all right, John, there's a Wells Fargo Center, it's yours now. What does someone do the first day they walk into a job like that? And what's the second day like?
Well, it's really exuding confidence, and making sure that you've built the team and that you've got a proper team to support you. And nobody's bigger than the team itself. I think that's the critical part. The one thing that Peter taught me all along is, being an offensive lineman, you're not the guy out in front. And it took me a while to adjust, because an offensive line, operates as a cohesive unit. Somebody's got to be the quarterback. So he was like, hey, do you want to be the lineman or do you want to be the quarterback? So at some point you got to kind of change your mindset and go from the guy that's protecting the quarterback to not only protecting your team, but also being the quarterback and being the lead of the organization.
Wow. It's fun. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Right,
it's incredible.
So obviously we both did some research before you came in. We wanted to be able to have a good, intelligent conversation. And one of the areas that I wanted to, really go over is your reputation. And so I did some research. I had ChatGPT, give me some. Every single thing ChatGPT said about you, that you're a motivator, that you put guests first, that you're motivated by how guests feel about the experience, that you're a system builder, not a spotlight seeker, is absolutely spot on. So the follow-up question to that is that the secret to leadership, is letting others lead?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing I've learned is you got to be yourself. You can't try to be something you're not. And, really recognizing what your strengths and weaknesses are and how you can overcome those. For a long period of time, I I didn't like being out in front, doing things like this. But as you do it more, you become more comfortable. And there's no right or wrong answers. And, I could say something today and not many people would know if I'm right or wrong, but that's not what it's all about. It's really just making sure that somebody's in charge. Somebody's got to take all the heat and deflect that off the people that are on the front line. I got an email today from one of our Firebirds fans that, we had a food and beverage offering out in our Oasis and we ran out of food because it was popular. It's not good, but I'm glad he did. So I thanked him for responding so we could correct it. We'll take care of his next food and beverage experience when he comes down again. But, those are the things that there's no blame to be had. It's like we just got to make sure everybody's aware so that we're properly prepared. If we're going to do that same type of food item again, that we're ready to go and we can deliver what we've committed to.
And don't be so delicious that you run out.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's right.
I was going to say that's a good problem to have. And what's amazing is I like how you're bringing that lineman mentality. Like you said, it's that dirty work. It's that we're going to make sure I know my role. We know what we're going to do. And we know the end goal is this. And I love that. And then you communicate that to everybody around you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to lose.
Ooh, I love that.
So I like to win at everything. And, when things go bad, you just have to assess it.
Yep.
Whether you look introspectively about what has occurred, what could I have done differently? And there have been a lot of moments like that here, knowing we've got a lot of young people that haven't been in the business before. And then how do you transcend your experiences to make sure things don't happen? But bad things could happen or things may not go the way you want, but everybody learns from them. So it's just making sure that, hey, look, this happened. Here's what happened. I could say the train was coming, and somebody says I got hit by the train. But, it's all about communication. Hey, let's address it. Let's fix it. And then just make sure it doesn't happen again.
Love that. Yeah, my son and I, we had those talks when we were driving when he was little, and it was just I was on some teams that just didn't win,
Right.
And he did really well. He was a good athlete, and he was frustrated at times. But the moral of the story was, on those long drives was, son, you're gonna lose, and that's actually a good thing. You're gonna learn more from that than you are from winning all the time, and then because you're gonna make those corrections, like you said, and that those are good life lessons. And
they are. I mean, I've got a really close friend. I was just talking to him briefly. My wife was driving him up. My son plays professional hockey. He's an ECHL hockey player. They were heading to a game in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
And he's a former Stanley Cup 2-time champion, winner, an original Broad Street Bully with the Flyers in 1967. And he always says you learn more from losing than you do from winning.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Not that you like it, but you want to know why you lost and how you correct it.
Yeah, but the winning tastes so much sweeter when it happens because you've made those adjustments, and when it comes, and then you're ready for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's just awesome. I think that's why when the championship comes to Coachella Valley, it's going to taste that much sweeter. We're going to be ready for it. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
We've been very, very close. Very, very close.
So let's get there. Let's talk about that. So you're sitting at home one day, or you're wherever you are, your phone rings, and it's the call to come out here. Let's start there.
Yeah. So it was actually the Wednesday before Thanksgiving in 2022.
But it wasn't memorable.
It was very memorable. And we just left my mother-in-law's house. So my wife and the 3 kids, we were in the car. And we were heading, they live in the Allentown area. We were heading back to Philly. So we had about an hour and 20-minute drive. And it's Peter Luco. So I pick up, and I knew, it's kind of strange for him to call Wednesday before Thanksgiving because everybody's kind of shut down.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, we may have an opportunity in the Palm Springs area at the arena. There may be some changes that need to occur on the arena and the team side. Is that something you would be interested in? And I'm like, absolutely. Love to hear more about it.
You had me at Palm Springs.
Yeah, right.
So he says, well, Tim Lywicki will probably give you a call over the weekend. So Tim called, I think it was on Saturday. So we talked a little bit about it, talked to my wife further, and, didn't really have it bubble up more, but then talked to a few other key players in the organization just to kind of get their sense, let them get a little bit of knowledge about me and who I am and how I operate. And then they invited me to come out for the opening events to continue to meet with people, see the operation,
Was the arena already built?
Yes, this was December.
Cool.
I think I got here on the
question.
17th.
Great question.
And the first event was on the 18th. So
Okay.
I stayed for...
That's right. It was, what's his name? The comedian.
It was Chris Rock and Dave
yeah.
Chappelle.
Yeah.
So I stayed for that show, the Doobie Brothers, and Grupo Firme.
Nice.
And then I had to head back to Pennsylvania.
Okay. Let's dig a little deeper, right?
Came home, got through Christmas, had dinner with my family, and explained, hey, here's the situation.
Oh, wait, no, you're not. Don't go so fast. Back up a little bit. So you're here for a few days, see a few events, get a sense of it. What's John Page thinking in his head before he even gets back?
Actually, had you been out here before?
Yeah.
I have.
And
growing up in, in Southern California, been out here a few times to golf and do different things.
Got it.
So I knew what I was getting myself into, particularly being born in Phoenix.
Okay.
So desert living, the summer times, what that's all about. So it didn't impact me in my decision-making at all. I was just impressed by how much the desert and the Coachella Valley had grown over the course of time. Particularly, my experience was you get to Rancho Mirage and there's not much else east of there, but
Now there is.
Now there is.
Yeah.
So, I was excited about the opportunity to be involved not only in the arena side, but also on the business side of the team and working closely with the Kraken, an organization that's starting up, a legend like Ron Francis, Todd Lewicki, Victor DeBonis, all the key players that were instrumental in really building that brand and building that franchise.
You had done, sorry, Kyle.
No,
you had done a lot of venue stuff by then, but I don't recall seeing you've actually done any professional sports team stuff.
Well, the interesting thing, being with the Flyers organization, we were all very involved. We would all meet on a regular basis to talk about season ticket sales, sponsorship, premium seating, all the factors and pieces of information that you need to know. So just de facto, we all had decisions in how we're doing things, how we staff up, because we were one organization. So we had the team in the arena. We also owned the Philadelphia 76ers as part of our merger with Comcast Spectacor in 1996.
Comcast artists, yeah.
Not only did we have the Flyers and the Sixers, we had a co-promotional arrangement for an indoor lacrosse team. And as we ramped up our venue management, we bought 3 minor league baseball teams in Baltimore. Oh. So they were affiliates of the Orioles. So, a lot of this is all the blocking and tackling. We would all be involved, go down. We would go in, assess the team, figure out how we're going to make money, drive sales. So, everything that we did from a touch point standpoint, whether it was food and beverage, working with Aramark, a third party, but, being intricately involved in the deal, the structures, how they make money, how we make money, really imparted all that knowledge and wisdom to allow me to understand what we needed to do, if I was fully in charge. Because we all were. I mean, we were all, doing the same thing anyway, from sales and marketing and,
so
just
everything was leading up to this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're driving, you fly back home, or you get back home after your visit here, then what?
Met with the family, said, hey, I may get an opportunity. Just want you to know, my daughter was a senior in high school, so she had to finish a semester. So I said, we're not going to move you out. Not as a
that
senior.
Close.
That would be the end of me. That would have been the end
a
of
lot
me.
of therapy.
I've been there, believe me, I know.
A lot of therapy down the road, yeah.
So we kind of waited and finally got the offer. So everybody greenlighted it and blessed the opportunity if it made the most sense. So my wife and I were heading to Boston on December 29th, which is our anniversary as well.
It was just a short period of time.
Very short period of time. Yeah. So we were going to see my son who was playing at Boston University. They were playing Harvard. So we were going up to watch the game. And I'm talking to the general counsel from Oakview Group about some deal points in the employment agreement. So we kind of get that done. She sends me back a clean copy. We scan it off my phone, email it to the front desk of the hotel.
While you're watching hockey like that?
So we're trying to get all that done before we had to go to the game. So sign it, email it, send it back. And then my first day was January 2nd.
Of
2023.
23, January 2nd.
So it was the first season.
First season.
You hopped in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you believed in the team that much. You believed in what everybody was doing. You saw the big picture.
Absolutely. I mean, the organization, structurally with them buying Spectra Venue Management, so they purchased the company I ran. Just the philosophy. OVG did. So the philosophy, the structure, the people in charge. I've known Tim forever. We would compete against Tim. We kind of stayed East Coast. They kind of stayed West Coast in a similar, state and fashion. But for the most part, it was great. We would celebrate wins, celebrate victories, talk about different deal structures. But just knowing, what type of organization Tim put together, being very sales oriented and coming to a place that hadn't experienced a lot of things that a typical arena, having a professional minor league hockey team can bring and what it can mean to a community.
But what I'm hearing also is like you're partnering up with people who care about the people, who care about the experience, because that's what it seems like. I keep circling around in my mind around like that's what you're attached to is, and you said that earlier was it's about the people, it's about the experience, it's about the fans, and so clearly everybody's on the same picture or on the same page in Seattle. I mean, I know that they put on a really great program up there and it's unreal. And obviously the Firebirds have done the same thing. So clearly, I mean, to the fan base, especially, you guys have really, done a great job.
No, and I think, the naming convention of the team, I think that's the first genius move, being the Coachella Valley Firebirds. So it wasn't the Palm Springs Firebirds.
Really good.
I think having the 9 cities within the Coachella Valley, and even you look at some of the designs that we have, the palm frond is 9 palm fronds. Mm-hmm. So it's really a tribute to the community itself, and really recognizing what it stands for and how diverse the community is. The people in Palm Springs are different than the people in Indio, Coachella, Mecca, Thermal. From the people that are struggling to make ends meet but want entertainment to the people that have a lot of wealth, they're all mixed into this pot, and we want to cater to everybody.
So, all right, here's me diving deep again. So you say, all right, my first day was January what?
January 2nd.
January 2nd. So here you are. You probably got a sweater on because it's a little bit chilly out. You walk in, and now this is your house. What's the first thing on your plate? Like, what's the first thing you do?
Well, really what I was charged with was evaluating the entire operation and trying to figure out what made the most sense. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the intention originally was to have one single organization from an arena and team perspective. So the organization was siloed. So you had people on the team side and you had people on the arena side. So there was a lot of duplication. So it was answering a lot of having people answer questions. Why are we doing things this way? Why are we doing things that way? Why are we not using these resources when we have them available? And really assessing everything. So that's what I was kind of charged with, and then reporting back to not only the Oakview Group, but the Seattle Kraken because of the partnership, and then making some judgment calls, unfortunately. There were changes that we had to make. And even up until last year, we made another section or segment of changes as well to really better the organization and further streamline it, which, it's never easy to do that. But because it's not that big of an operation, we had to do what made the most sense to be as efficient as possible and get the best out of the resources that were in the marketplace.
What was the first biggest change you made?
Well, unfortunately, there was a change with, the hockey structure, kind of the day-to-day on the business side of the hockey team.
You're looking at us like we know what you're talking about. We have no clue that it happened.
There was an individual that was running the hockey team. So we made a change in February there. The person that was running the arena was kind of moving out anyway.
Okay.
So we had, that individual was very helpful in us getting the Plaza Theater and even on our convention center pursuit, which we now manage as well here in town. So, unfortunately, structurally, we just had to make some changes to put one person in charge instead of having 2 people in charge that were doing basically the same thing. And, as you alluded to, I've had experience on both sides of it. So it was really a natural fit for me to be able to oversee not only the hockey side of the business, but also the arena side and then the Iceplex. And then, it's kind of dovetail into our One Valley Foundation. So, it was easy for me to do. And having one person in charge, making decisions, whether it's scheduling, I can put my hockey hat on or my arena hat on, and I can talk to myself. What makes
you ever argue?
Yeah,
all the time. So what makes the most sense? What's the best use of a certain date? As we get into the calendar and we've got to make changes and adjustments to book a show, those are things that we do.
It's incredible. So, I mean, when do you make time for you? When do you make time for family? I mean, how do you balance all of that? I feel like some days I'm going bananas and my wife looks at me like, are you going to be home? Where are you going? You're coming and going a lot. So how do you balance all that?
My wife's a saint. She was.
What's her name?
Kelly.
Kelly, good job. That's amazing. Kelly
is
well trained.
Yeah, well,
she was really integral in my success because we got married in 2000,
24 years.
December of 2000. So we just celebrated our 25th anniversary.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And we had kids right away. I was a little older, so you never know how long it's going to take. So
Sure.
we had 3 kids in 4 years. I don't
job.
know why. I didn't realize what impact it would have on college in my pockocbook when we did that. But
Yep.
it all worked. But
Please have a dumb one, please.
she was a nurse by trade, oncology nurse. And, so once we had our first child, she stayed home to kind of do that. And then we had the other 2 right away as well. So, having her there and comfortable, and the kids were at every event. I saved every ticket, because it's when you had hard tickets, to every event they ever went to up to a certain point. So I've got
saved them?
oodles and oodles of tickets of
Do they
all
know,
the events.
they see him? They
Oh
know
yeah, they
that?
see him. Yeah, and my kids have been so fortunate to meet, celebrities. My daughter's met Taylor Swift a couple times, and my oldest would go into the Flyers locker room like right after games and be in the locker room when the coach is talking to the players, and he's sitting on players' laps. And
All right, Kyle, here it comes. Sorry, dog.
Yeah.
Kelly Clarkson. Met her yet?
That,
I'm
that's
not.
that's
She's
his
my
number
absolute
one.
favorite, yeah.
That's the number
have
one.
not met Kelly
That's
Clarkson.
his number one.
All right, just checking. I promised everybody I would ask.
So that's pretty. I mean, so you get to be like super dad a little bit, especially when they're
Taylor Swift, yeah, you think?
yeah. It's pretty cool. You work hard, so I mean, there's fruits of labor that come, and they
some
come in
of those-
different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I see it, and people see it. Can be it's different for some, but I mean, hard work pays off, and there's different fruits that come along with that, and that's really cool. You get to.
Well, the thing I learned early on too is when you are home, you have to be present.
Oh, that's
you
really
have
good.
to try to avoid any other distractions so that you can commit 100% of the time that you do have.
Yeah.
To make sure that your kids feel supported and loved and all those things. Same thing with my wife, and then try to give her as much time, because she would always call me Good Time Johnny. I'd come rolling
Johnny,
home,
I
and
love
kids
it,
would be
yeah.
like, "Oh, Dad's home," and she was kind of being the
Oh,
disciplinary.
you got to be good dad.
Yeah.
I was a good dad,
yeah.
but I took care of a lot of the heavy lifting, when the kids got a little older. But it's been, it's great. We have 3, beautiful, wonderful kids that are doing great so far. So, just thrilled about that.
That's awesome.
Your son that's in the ECHL, are we going to see him up anytime soon?
I hope so. You never know.
What's his name?
Jack Page. He's actually the 4th.
That's a good handle.
What's his number?
72.
That was my football number.
Yeah,
was that your football number?
Yeah, it was my football number.
Were you a left tackle?
First couple years we flip flop strong and weak side. So I was a strong side tackle. So we'd always have the tight end.
I love that position because there's almost I had one job. I didn't have to think about plays. One job. It was great.
Don't anybody in.
So what's Jack play? What position?
He's a defenseman. Left-handed
Beautiful.
shot. Yep.
Of course.
Yep.
How cool would that be? I mean, that's a great dad moment.
It is.
I mean, if he starts making his way here,
we'll see.
And I mean, obviously he's playing. That's great.
Yeah, he's
and
in
that's
the
always
Flyers
fun,
organization, interestingly enough. He separated his shoulder early on, like in the first preseason game. Played well, came back, strained his knee a little bit, so he's playing regularly now. Had his first goal the other day. I thought Kelly was gonna
That boy Jack
break a leg, jumping up and down and running around the house when he scored. We were watching it. It was streaming, so yeah, it was great to see. See your kids have a lot of success. But the other 2, my middle son's he's crazy smart. He's a biochem major at Northeastern, and my daughter's in the honors business school program at University of South Carolina. So they take
you don't have any dumb ones.
Look at you.
Take after my wife. It's all about her.
Well, it's purposeful. I think it sounds to me like that seems to be. And again, when we read your bio, I'm like, this guy's lived life. He actually had purpose throughout. I mean, I think probably since you were probably a kid, you always had that goal oriented. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do this, but yet you're always aware of the people around you, and you're trying to take care of them as well, but also keep moving forward.
Yeah, a lot of my kind of life lessons were from my high school football coach, guy by the name of Bob Woodhouse.
It's a good coach
he had
name.
some great stories, and ran a very simple offense, and he wouldn't let kids play 2 ways so that everybody could play. So, ultimately there was some sacrifice because not all the better kids are playing all the time. We weren't a big school, and, we had some good success, but, he was the old, rub some dirt on it kind of guy. If I'm not yelling at you, if I quit yelling at you, it means I don't care anymore. So I tell my kids,
every coach I've ever had.
Sounds like my dad.
Yeah. So, there's things to this day, like something will happen and I think, oh, that's what Coach Woodhouse would have said,
Rub some dirt on it.
It's fascinating how impactful coaches are on us. Like my dad gave me a lot of stuff, and I've had some teachers but a lot of who I am and what I do comes from from coaches, and
we've had educators on the show,
Yep.
and we've partnered with Palm Desert High School, and we've partnered with a lot of schools actually, and it's neat to see the impact that the teachers and the coaches and the principals, and then they tie it into the organization. We had Michelle on our show, and she actually had written a kid's book to help educate them.
F is for Fuego is the name of the book.
Oh, great.
Yeah, A is for
Copyright pending. Just kidding.
Acrisure.
Acrisure. A is for Acrisure, yeah.
So, I mean, it was really neat to see how that impact is taking place too. So, I mean, congratulations on the legacy that you guys are leaving and the stuff that you're doing.
Thank you.
It's unreal.
Yeah, it's great.
So that leads to the thing that I always talk about as much as I can, and that is what the Firebirds have done for the community. When the announcement first happened years and years ago, long before any dirt was dug, my wife found there's gonna be a hockey team in town. So for Christmas, she gets me, the deposit on the hockey tickets. And a couple of years goes by, and oh yeah, I remember that. And then we get our tickets, and we start. And within maybe a week or 2 weeks, we realize something's happening here, because the Valley very quickly started to come together. People, Kyle and I never knew each other before the Firebirds. I now have friends that I would never have known but for the Firebirds, and I hear things and I talk to people, and the community is genuinely tighter because specifically of the Firebirds. Did you, I know you probably hoped for it, but did you know that was going to happen?
No, and I remember when I first heard about the potential of the arena coming into Palm Springs, and I was thinking kind of the same thing. Many people probably thought, that'll never work. Yeah. It just won't work. But when you kind of think about it retrospectively and you look at what's gone on in South Florida, what's gone on in Arizona, what's gone on in Southern California, particularly when Wayne Gretzky came to really perpetuate kind of hockey in general and just get excitement and awareness. So it works. I think sports are always the rallying cry for communities, whether, you win or you lose, because everybody's optimistic that you're always going to win. And when every season starts, everybody's undefeated. But having a team like the Coachella Valley Firebirds, particularly in this community that's never really had anything to call their own, is a rallying cry for everybody to get involved. And I think that's, again, from a Kraken perspective and the people that were on the ground implementing some of the plans, the branding, the marketing strategies, it was very community driven early on to be involved philanthropically, going to, various schools, our reading programs, our street hockey programs.
Firebirds?
Firebirds, yeah.
We have that?
Wow. We introduced a lot of that to get, because there's no other rinks, to get people understanding how hockey can really be a point of curriculum. It's it's not only educational, but it's also exercise. So there was a lot
more now
that went into really starting to promote how we can be engaged. So that was the naturalist way to do it, to take advantage of you can go anywhere really. It's similar to soccer. If you've got a stick and a couple balls or whatever, you can go out. So there was stick donations, and there were kind of learn to play manuals that went along with that to educate PE teachers to get into the schools, and it was a real, kind of learn to play.
That's incredible.
Program to get people to really start to understand what was coming.
Wow,
absolutely fascinating.
Well, that's why I love doing the show, because people were
I
learning.
I would never have had any reason to know. I know, it's amazing. We talk. I talk all the time about how it has brought the Valley together, and it brings people together, and everybody we've talked to kind of hoped it would happen, didn't know that it would actually happen. Has anybody come up to you? Have you had a particular experience where you genuinely firsthand saw the impact that the Firebirds have had on the community?
I think just seeing the diversity of the people that are in the arena for games, it's really special. I think certain sports you don't necessarily see how different the demographic can be. You go to baseball games and it's a lot of people that look like me in there. And here it's not the case. It's an older demo, it's a younger demo, it's Hispanic, it's very diverse. We try to be as inclusive as we can, whether it's our pride events and just different things that we do to create special environment so that everybody feels comfortable coming to the games and being able to participate.
I think you nailed it. I mean, honestly, we've been to, almost every single game, and every single one is just, you guys, it's the same tone. It's the same. Everyone's smiling and inviting and welcome. And honestly, the atmosphere in the arena it's pretty special. And that's what we always talk about. And that's really what we try to promote a lot of it's come to the arena, show up. Like if you're not showing up and you're not seeing it for yourself, you're missing out because there's something to it. There's something special about being in the building.
It's a great arena. I mean, it's so efficient. The intimacy is great, not only for hockey games, but also just for shows in general. So the design was right on. The size is perfect. Shouldn't be any bigger, shouldn't be any smaller.
The acoustics are phenomenal.
Yeah, acoustics are great.
Really
but
well
even from a production value, we invested in lights and, we want to make sure that, we're competing and providing a game presentation that's similar to an NHL team. Wow. We want that level to be high. Not every team does what we do to really present their product that way, but we feel it's that important to make sure that it is high level and that we are taking care of all aspects of that game presentation. It's even broadcasting every single game on TV locally. I mean, there's only a couple other teams that do that, but they have sponsors that do that. Here, it's us. We're partnered with NBC, and they're a tremendous partner. So it goes a long way. And, does it hurt us in the arena? Probably a little bit. But we view it as a 2.5-hour infomercial that really sells the product and sells the team and sells the arena.
Well, you touched on it, so I'm going to grab it.
Let's go.
Everyone has noticed attendance from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 and now year 4 has declined.
Sure.
And you just mentioned that maybe TV has something to do with it, maybe it doesn't. I personally don't think it does. I don't think anybody who's going to go to the game is not going to go to the game because it's on TV. But what do you think is the leading reason for the drop in attendance?
Well, I think typically anytime you start up a new organization, you're going to have some attrition going from year 1 to year 2. Obviously, year 1 being very special, going to the Calder Cup finals, we saw a pretty big uptick in season tickets, and then we saw an even bigger uptick after season 2. So having those 2 tremendous Calder Cup runs really put us in a position where we had all these season ticket members that we're now looking to continue. But it's hard. I mean, it's, you guys know, going to 36 games, it's hard.
Sure.
We're coming off of, January, we've got, we had 2 games last week, 2 games this week. So in terms of lifestyle, if you've got a family, if you got other commitments, how do you go to all these games? It's hard. So we
scoot out of the house and get.
Yeah, but we didn't, we didn't really offer much in terms of flex plans, half game plans, 9 game plans until this season, because we knew that things were going to start to change, and it's our job to try to figure out a way that how we if somebody doesn't want to go to 36, how can they downgrade and still be a part of it? So we've seen some of that, but still there's been attrition. And that's why we've pivoted to a lot of our fan-centric changes with parking price going down for the individual game buyer to $20, making sure our season ticket members that are paying $10 can pay as you go. You're not just paying for all 36 games up front. Food prices, really being sensitive to food pricing. And now as we go into season 5, offering our 25% discount
Love that.
on food and beverage for our most prized members, which are our season ticket members.
Yeah, my wife was already doing the math in the car when that was announced. She's, we get this. Yeah, it was great. That's what. And I got to give you your flowers. I know you got a question, Dave, but
we're just talking.
I haven't seen an organization be able to pivot so quickly. When maybe it's because of the market, maybe it is because how intimate we are. You guys with the fans, you can hear what's going on, but you guys did an amazing job of shifting that. I know that it was kind of coming up during the playoffs. And then in the offseason, you guys immediately started making those changes. So, that's really impressive.
Well, thank you. The hard part last year going in the playoffs, when people really started pushing back, was just the timing. In prior years when we finished second in the division, we knew we had the 3 home games because we were more than likely going to play. We played Tucson, but because of the other potential opponent, we knew based on mileage we were going to have all 3 games. Second year, we finished first, so we had the first round bye. So it made us it was easier for us to sell and prepare and get ready for that first round of playoffs. Last year, we didn't clinch until late. We didn't know who we were playing until Friday before the Tuesday game.
Yeah, so you're kind of chasing your
tail.
tail.
There was very little time to really get the word out. And in this league, it's tough too because, as poorly attended as it was, we did better than most teams did in the first round. So we're ahead of the curve in all the metrics for the most part within the American Hockey League. I mean, we're third in paid attendance. We're number one in season ticket revenue. So we've done a really good job of maintaining that. And there's a couple other franchises that are a little older than us, not much, but we've seen what's happened to them, and we're performing well ahead of what they have.
That's great.
Do you think 2 finals runs in the first 2 seasons caused kind of a false positive expectation in attendance?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think when you look at it, particularly that first year, the first 4 games were in Seattle, and then we had a significant compression for the balance of those 32 games that took place between January and April. That's a lot of hockey.
That sure was fun.
And then we played, 16 out of 17 potential games. So just in that first year, that was a lot of hockey.
That was a lot of hockey.
And then the second year, we didn't have as many games, but when you look at the 2 years of hockey, it was almost 3 years worth of games. So just from a pocketbook standpoint for the fans, it's a big ask and it's a big lift. But our job is to continue to push the envelope. We've got organizationally the support from Seattle. They give us a lot of latitude in some of the things that they've done, a little differently based on how they went about their season ticket approach and how they manage their season ticket members. But really the 25% discount is something that they did. So we were up there this summer. I was up there in October, talking through some of the metrics, the data analytics behind it, and how it's helped them really maintain and avoid a lot of that season ticket holder attrition.
I think the number one pushback that I hear from fans is the food prices is probably the number one thing. Parking is what it is. The ticket prices are fine. I don't even know what they are. My season tickets, I don't even know. But the food is the number one thing that the food and the drinks is what people say. And so now comes the 4 deal, right? The 4 tickets, 4 dogs, 4 drinks deal. Right. Anything else in the works?
Yeah, we're continuing to evaluate that. So, with some of the things we've done at our Slice Society outside, the happy hour pricing for beer, it wasn't just on the weekdays. We continue that for all the games. So there's an opportunity to partake in lower priced, food items and beverages. So we're going to continue that, and we'll evaluate as we get through this season. It's even our 6:30 start times. We look at Wednesday games. We thought there'd probably be a bit of a learning curve. But we're seeing our Wednesday games or Thursday games underperforming a little bit. So is it the 6:30 start time? Do we go back to 7? Those are things that...
Yeah, it's hard to gauge because they show up a little later only because...
Yeah, that's what I've noticed, right? 6:30, it's, no attendance. And like 7:05, it's like,
people are coming in. Yeah.
So, based on the survey, we'll kick it around again and figure out what makes the most sense. Because, you do have an older demo that they're used to going to happy hour, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. They're home watching Wheel of Fortune or whatever they're doing. And then families with kids, instead of getting home at 10, if you're home at 9:30, that extra half hour makes a big difference. Those are things that we're always trying to think outside the box a little bit, and having a non-traditional market, which is exactly what we have.
Yeah, and that's great. And also you can't please everybody. You're doing your best to tweak the system, enough to at least try to get there.
Yeah, it occurs to you, you've got a unique challenge, right? LA fans know who they are. Philadelphia fans definitely know who they are. Coachella Valley fans didn't even know they were fans, and now you've got to try to piece all these puzzle pieces together. It can't be easy.
No, and even on the seasonality, when are people showing up?
Oh, there you go.
With some of the golf courses with the heat, they've opened later. So people are coming later, they stay for Thanksgiving, they go home for Christmas, they come back a little later, so just targeting that, and overall, when you look at the American Hockey League with the 32 teams, we're the 3rd smallest market. Palm Springs itself in general is 500,000 people. Now it swells this time of year to, some say 1 million, but, so, just that transitional seasonality is another factor. How do we get a hold of people that aren't here all the time, that that we want them to know about it. So it's a constant challenge, and that's what our marketing department, we spent a lot of time in the last few weeks talking about that. You know, how do we really go back and look at who came from an individual game perspective or a group perspective? How do we get them back, or where did they go? And what do we need to do?
The option that you provided that I've seen people taking advantage of is that partial season ticket membership, where it's like a 50-50, or if you just want to be part-time because of that, like you've catered to that as well. I know some of our people, they've taken advantage of it and they've shared it and it works for them. So, I mean, I think that's a great way around it. People don't know about that. You don't have to go all in. You can get half the season, right?
You can get half. There's a flex plan, and then there's the 9 game. And even in some of that, you know, with the 9 game, we allowed you to pick your seat. So you're in the same seat every game. So, you know, if you're a flex, you may not get the same seat. So, you know, it was just something we're very intentional about how we look at things. And, you know, it just takes time for people to understand all these options and, you know, how it fits into their lifestyle. And here, you know, it's a very outdoor-driven lifestyle. Yeah. I mean, it's tennis, golf. It's your, you know, American Express tournament. It's the tennis tournament.
Yeah,
it's going out to eat.
I think of Vegas and like, you know, God, what if every concierge in every resort in the Valley was, you know, promoting the team, and every golf pro saying, hey, when you're done with your round, like but how do you know how to do that?
Well, it does happen because I've seen it. I get familiar with the Valley as a whole, and that is what's happening in more and more people. And I think as we're growing and building, and the Valley, I mean, you've seen the numbers, and I've seen the numbers. The data tells us that more people are staying year round. It is growing, population is increasing, and I think that trend will continue. I also think it will be more like a Vegas destination spot. It'll be Coachella Valley versus we're going to Palm Springs. So you're going to start seeing this growth. And the Firebirds are, I think, going to be a part of that as we start seeing that all year round sustainability. You know, it's going to get weird.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing here, the corporate community is great and tremendous, but it's not big.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, it's not like a typical city. It's so leisure driven. And then you look at the other kind of businesses around it, you know, a lot of car dealers, a lot of HVAC, you know, refurb, you know, a lot of those things that come along with it, you know, short of that, you know, like Eisenhower Health is a tremendous partner. You know, we've got California Bank and Trust, and we have so many great partners, but they're not huge businesses, you know. We do have, just with the Oakview Group and the connections, we do have some large national companies that sponsor us, but for the most part, we rely on the local people to help us, you know, sponsor our events and sponsor our team to drive the revenues that we need to be successful.
So are there opportunities for smaller businesses to hop on, you know, advertising with the team or the arena?
Absolutely. Like really, our starter program is in our broadcast. So
tell me about that.
There's spots available that you can purchase to kind of get your feet wet, you know, and they're pretty cheap, you know, so you can be in 36 Firebirds games. It's a real easy point of entry. And then, you know, if you think it works and you can see the return on investment.
Is that on the TV side?
Yeah, on TV. Yeah, exactly. So we sell kind of in conjunction with NBC a little bit. They've got some spots, and then we have some spots. But, you know, we really control the vast majority of those. So we've picked up a few partners just by offering them the ability to get in at that level. And if it works, then there's other programs that we have that can be digital driven with the big marquees that are outside. You know, some of our, you know, you got dasher boards, in-ice, PA announcements.
Those are expensive, right?
Yeah.
Those are
they can be, but you know, I mean, it just depends on, you know, what you're spending in market anyway. You know, you talk to various people. I mean, they spend a lot of money. I mean, you know, you listen to the radio, you watch TV. You know, there's some people that are spending all the time to, you know, make the most of their business.
I wonder if the fan zone could fit in on that. You know what I mean? Like in the digital board or something, or maybe as the.
Anyway. We'll figure that out. And thanks for that. I had a really good question, and I totally forgot what it was. Do you have any idea what the numbers are, viewership on TV, game by game?
Yeah, it ranges. You know, it's probably there's a bar network factor that goes into it. Mm-hmm. It's probably 3,000 to 5,000 a game.
Oh wow!
So that's awareness.
Okay, that is.
I mean,
the casinos got them on in their giant TVs and bars.
I think that's the uniqueness, though, too. Is again, for a small market, we act like a big market. For a small town, we act like a big town. I mean, it's interesting how that works.
Yeah, and then you know, we actually compete with ourselves because there's the streaming platform through the AHL.
Right.
So we give our season ticket holders access to that. So
And
you
we
watch
use it.
the-
Let me tell you. Yeah,
you
thank
watch
you
the
for that.
away games.
Appreciate
So,
that.
we're kind of competing with ourselves a little bit there, but, we don't really view it that way. Just the more exposure we can get and the fans become familiar with our players and our product and see what we do, we think it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
And I've heard along the way, who knows where anybody hears anything, but that there are a lot of ticket purchasers and a lot of ticket holders that just, for whatever reason, don't come to the games. Any idea the psychology behind that?
We are perplexed and spend so many nights and days trying to figure that out. It's incredible how many people buy the tickets, and we offer the ability to donate them to charities, and we go back and look at it. We try to see who's coming, who's not coming, and if people are kind of repeat offenders by not coming, like, hey, can we help you get rid of your tickets? And
Do you find, is there, I don't want to know, I mean, not naming names, but are there
that's a big
consistent
part.
people?
Like, yeah, I mean, there's probably a 15% factor that don't show up. So it's a lot of people that don't show
That's
up.
a decent amount.
See, that's
yeah.
crazy to me because in Section 106, we're there. I mean, that's our house.
Right.
I can't imagine,
But there's, it's some people, whether they're traveling, they're out of town,
Again,
they've got
yeah.
significant wealth.
Oh.
For the price of entry, what they pay, they're fine with just, hey, I didn't make it tonight.
So I think here's what we do.
Kyle's got ideas. Let's go.
I'm going to tell the guy what to do. It's
Yeah.
going to be great.
Love it.
I think anybody out there, if you're not making it to the games, let's get them to the kids. The times when that arena has the kids in there, if you can't make it, you've spent the money. Find somebody to give it to. Find a kid. Find a neighbor. Find a niece, nephew, whoever, and give it to that kid. Because I tell you what, when those kids are in there, and plus it's magic for them.
The best.
It is magic for them. So I think that's the deal. Incentivize. Let's get some kids in there if we can, and really let's build on that.
Because they pump up that volume in that place.
I love it. And they love it. You can just see it on their face. They're in Disneyland for a little bit. And I think that's what needs to happen. If these adults, and we want you to come. And that's the whole thing about this. But if you can't, let's get it to a child. Let's get it to somebody who's going to enjoy it. Holy cow.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. The biggest challenge for Acrisure, aside from anything we've talked about so far, from day to day, you roll up to the office. What's the biggest challenge for Acrisure? Not necessarily the team, but for the arena.
Consistent programming on the concert touring side. Just because we're not a must play, it's a challenge. I mean, we've made unbelievable headway in awareness.
You've had some pretty big names.
And we have. I mean, there's Paul McCartney, Madonna, Harry Styles, the Eagles 3 times, Jimmy Buffett, Billy Idol, Eric Clapton, the list goes on and on. But it's just that consistent nature. Tours, because of the money they make these days, some of these artists aren't touring a lot. So they may be out 40 to 60 nights. So it's how do we become one of those 40 to 60? And we get caught up in a lot of the LA noise. So whether it's crypto.com or the Intuit Dome or the Forum, if there's a potential for them to get 2 shows and they get, we may be, if they only do 1, we get that other show. So we get kind of stuck in that in some regard, but, just having the support of ownership, we get a pretty good chance and a pretty good look at most of the shows, but it's just making sure that we're always in the mix in the conversation. And we're very successful, but we want to be more successful.
And I've always wondered, 'cause I've never known, do you seek them out or do they seek you out?
It's a combination of both. So some of the national tours, maybe an agent or a promoter that are calling, asking for holds. In some cases, we may find out, hey, this person's going out on tour. Some of the bigger shows, it's been done at a corporate level. Like Paul McCartney, Tim Lewicki had a tremendous relationship with Paul's kind of agent manager, gentleman by the name of Barry Marshall. And he was supposed to tour and be here in 23, but it pushed because he wanted to play South America. So you never know if you're going to get it, but we got it. And even like Harry Styles, Irving Azoff is a part of our ownership group, and he's got Full Stop Management. And Irving's probably the most powerful man in music. So he's very helpful, but he's not going to force an artist to play something unless they think it's the right thing to do. So, that's where we got to make sure we're geared up on the marketing side, get all the information out, and we can support somebody that's going on sale because they want it to be full when they get here, and we want it to be full as well.
I think it usually is. It's pretty rare. It's not packed.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great.
It's been great.
awesome.
Yeah, we just we put up Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind and Fire. So that'll sell out. I think we're at like 6,000 paid already for
Chicago and Sticks is coming, and I'm definitely on board for that. Can I ask? We can cut this out if you want, but what happened during Duran Duran?
They had an issue with their motherboard that controlled their sound. So were you at the show?
I was there, yeah.
So if you notice, the band had no idea.
They had no clue.
The communication in their ears, because most of the bands now have gone away from the wedges and the amplifiers behind them. Mm-hmm. So they had no idea. So
just all of a sudden the audience isn't participating.
Well, we found out from their production managers that they've been having trouble. They had trouble before this, and they didn't replace it. So they were actually getting that piece of equipment replaced at their next show in Vegas. So, they were dead and down in the water. So we got our internal PA cranked up to make the announcement about what was going on so that we could get it up. So as soon as they were able to get it rebooted, it came back up.
Yeah.
So all the sound, really all of the theatrical elements of those shows, it's not our stuff, it's theirs.
Okay. All right, see, we're good.
Yeah.
All right, I have two more, and then
you're good.
You're
good. No, I love that.
It's Friday morning. You got a big event that night. You're home. You're having your coffee. You're petting the dog. What's the biggest stressor for you before any major event? Stumped them.
Well, it's making sure we're prepared. My mantra to the staff is we got to get people in quick because it's money. The more they're in, the more they spend, the less time they're outside, we can get them in. Even from a security standpoint, you don't want people standing around waiting outside. No. So it's getting them in so that we have the optimal guest experience so they can partake in, whether it's food and beverage opportunities, if they're a premium seat holder, if there's a VIP experience, just making sure they get in. And then, once they're in again, just making sure it's a safe, secure environment for everybody. In some shows, based on the demographic or the type of music, we know we're in for a rougher night. People are going to be drinking, which is fine. We just have to be prepared. We had a show early on. It was probably 3 or 4 months after I got here, and it was a kind of a rough night. And we have a different food and beverage director now, but the guy that was running it came up to me and he's like, "Hey, we got to shut down all the alcohol." And it was pretty early. It was like 9:30. And I'm like, "Why?" Because we had like 5 ejections. I said, 5?
Whoa.
That's it?
Exactly.
I said, "Bill, let me just be real clear here. I've been at this a long time. If you ever see me get nervous, then it's time to run. Because if I'm nervous, we got problems." I said, "If I panic, we got problems. But we're in great shape here tonight. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to monitor it. We'll shut down if we need to, but we'll just stay on our course and make sure everything's safe. We're doing anything by the ABC rules, and everything's going to be fine." So,
and it was.
It ended up being just fine.
Of course.
All right, my last question for you. This is maybe the most important one I'm going to ask all day. You were 30 years in Philly for Philly cheesesteak. Everybody wants to know Geno's or Pat's. You and I both know that's the false choice. D'Alessandro's or Jim's South?
Probably Jim's.
Yeah.
Probably Jim's.
Yeah. All right.
Well, those are the commercial places. But there's also a lot of other, little moms and pops, and you get out into the suburbs as well. There's one out where we live in Westchester, Delco Steaks, which is just tremendous as well. So there's a lot of really good spots.
Just want to make sure that I have all the info.
You've got it.
KG, come on. What else you got?
I really thought you were going to ask a serious question. You got me too.
Have you ever been there? That's a serious question.
No, I've never. And I love a good Philly.
If you've ever been to Philly, dude, that's a serious
question. It's one of my
question.
favorite sandwiches. So that's absolutely.
And if you go to Geno's or Pat's, and those are the only 2 I've ever been to, and you don't know how to order, it's no soup for you. If you don't order right, you're out.
Okay. They'll yell at you.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. I'll get schooled up before we do that.
I was there, and I ordered whatever the guy in front of me ordered because I got nervous and flustered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you probably loved it.
It was good.
My question to you, I guess, because I've been thinking about this, what's your biggest takeaway from all your experiences from being the boots on the ground? I'm going to model a lot of after what I'm doing with what you've done, because it's impressive how you keep people first, and yet you still manage to accomplish the things you've accomplished. And so I guess I'll take the advice, and I'm sure people out here will too. But I mean, what's your biggest takeaway, and what's your biggest advice for somebody who wants to, I guess, do it this way and have this kind of life?
I tell anybody that's interested in this business, you got to get your foot in the door. No matter how you do it, because there's not a lot of teams. Everybody thinks the team side's the way to go. And it's not necessarily the case, because there's more arenas, stadiums, and convention centers than teams. So if you can get your foot in any door, work hard, ask a lot of questions. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And then try to cross-train or get involved with all aspects of the business, whether it's finance and accounting, marketing, promotions, the box office, operations, food and beverage, parking, all the touch points. How does it all work? How do we make money? How do these deals get done so that you have a good sense of it? Because, again, this is a lifestyle business, and it's not for everybody. People think it's great, but it is great. And I wouldn't have changed anything in the world to do what I do every day. And I have no problem getting up and, I don't care if I'm working till 10 tonight or 11 o'clock tonight. I love it. But, it's not for everybody. But once you're in it, you just got to kick ass and take names.
Love that. Oh, and I think that's great. And anything you do, right? Whether it's this industry or whatever it is you're doing. And I think that's a great attitude.
It's so funny. I look at the energy team, right? And I think those are future leaders. You've got people that work for you, and you may or may not even know who they are, but you've got guys or you got staff members that are just absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to shout out a couple names. We got Jack as our usher in 106. Mm-hmm. There's used to be an usher, now he's kind of more supervisor, a guy named Pedro, just Brad at the bar, Olivia. You got staff members that really seem to me to go out of their way to make the experience special. Yeah. How do you do that with hundreds of employees?
Well, it's hiring great people and letting them do their jobs. That was an Ed Snyder philosophy. You got to train people. You got to communicate. We spend a lot of time doing that, with our ushers, our ticket takers, even our third-party providers, security, just making sure they understand how we want to do business. It's not your way, it's our way. And but there's so many unsung heroes, the people that change the venue over, the people that come in and clean at night.
Yeah.
When we walk back in after tonight's game, if you roll in tomorrow, it's going to be spick and span and ready to go. Yeah. And you would hardly know there was an event the night before. And you would know that, we were at hockey last night and we're getting ready to set up for Cardi B. So those are all the things that roll in that are very special, and you don't always get to see those people on a regular basis, but the time and effort and commitment that they make, it's tremendous. And, I always, we're doing our kind of mid-year reviews right now. And the first thing I do is thank everybody. I mean, thank you for all you do. Cause it's not all about me. It's all about them and, their commitment to get it right.
I'm just going to tell you, cause what do I care? But there's people that I look forward to seeing when I go there as part of the experience. Like we got my friends and the other guests, 1000%. But like rolling up to security and seeing Dominic waiting for me. It's
Dom.
like, I just,
right.
So good on you for being able to foster that kind of culture. Cause you don't see that anywhere.
Well, it's fun. I mean, again, we're competing in my mind with the movies, we're a little pricier, but in some cases,
I don't know. You ever buy some popcorn and a Coke?
But I think you're.
But we're trying to be
reasonable,
and it's hard. We're trying to be family affordable, fun, But even on the food prices, you go to lunch anywhere. I mean, a lunch is, it's a $25 entree for lunch.
Yeah, I'm glad my kids are getting that old age now where we're not going out every weekend after, and can we go here? Can we go there?
Yeah,
it's impossible right now. So no, you guys have done a great job, like I said, of pivoting and getting ahead of it and doing those things and providing. And actually, that's a great comparison. Going to the movies, it's not the same experience. You're not creating the memories, and you're spending way more money. Even though I'm a movie guy, I love the movies and grew up on them. Always in drive-ins and all those things.
Nobody watched those.
I love it. But now this is, to me, it's an experience and it's something that you can share, and it's right here in our backyard. You can't beat that. That's so special. So,
before you get to my last thing is how can we and other fans, how can we help the experience?
I think feedback, any information we get, it's interesting, as you guys brought up, coming out of the playoffs last year and then some of the noise that we were hearing before we pivoted on, rolling out some of our changes because we just had to figure the right time to do that. There was a lot of noise and a lot of chatter, but feedback is really critical and important to us so that we know what is going well, what's well received, what's working, what's not working. And the interesting thing this year is there's not a lot of noise after we made a lot of these changes. So is that good or bad? I don't know, Is it apathy, which we hope not? But, even the team was pretty consistent the first 2 years because we didn't have draft picks and prospects.
Right.
So we had to rely on those veteran players. We had a few, and now we're young because just the turnover. I mean, we're the youngest team in the American Hockey League. So Coach Laxdal and Troy have done a tremendous job, getting these guys prepared. They're competing in every game against the older teams because we're highly skilled. Everybody's playing the role. With the number of call-ups, guys that we've had hurt. I mean, to do what we do, losing to a veteran team in Colorado Wednesday night, 2-1.
That wasn't a loss.
No.
We may not have scored it. Today's Firebirds Friday. I don't know if you heard. And one of the things we talked about today on Firebirds Friday was the fact that I have never, in all 4 seasons, I have never seen a team play this fast, this sharp as they did on Wednesday night, as connected and communicative.
They were just in the box way too much.
That is a championship team that may or may not make it, but that team can go all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's, because you said the same thing. First 2 years of veterans, you get a little spoiled. Now you got rookies and draft picks and all the call-ups.
Yeah.
I think this core group we have now the youngest could be the spoiler.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I was with Coach Laxdal last night at an event, and he was talking to a small group, and he brought up the fact that up until Christmas we considered them rookies, but now we don't. Now it's time to go. They've got to really drive, and it's their time to shine. It's their time to produce, and hockey's tough because all these kids that get drafted, they're used to being the number one guy. They were the leading scorer. Like David Goyette was the leading scorer in the Ontario Hockey League, and he comes here and he's trying to figure out what is he. Is he a top line guy? Is he a third or fourth line guy that's checking? So they have to adapt and pivot. I saw it a lot in Philadelphia. Guys that were really productive. We had a guy, Riley Cote, who became an enforcer, and he was a leading scorer, in major junior. But he figured it out. He put on weight, and he found a way to play, 8, 9, 10 years in the league.
We had Chucky on, Ty Nelson, we call him Chucky, and he said the same thing. Yeah. He's the best player before. Now he's trying to find himself, and obviously he has. Yeah, that's got to be tough. I'd like to have Lax in the chair to find. That's got to be tough on a coach to got to help them figure out who they are.
But what's interesting, though, actually, and I don't mean to interrupt, but
you're good.
When you said by this time they should be maturing, and honestly, so the talk in the stands is, man, the team is mature. We were just talking about it after this game. Wow, they're growing before our eyes. Wow, they're heading in the right direction. Yeah. They're growing, they're maturing. This is a different team than in December and previous. They are starting to do the things that they need to do at the right time. So it's really cool.
We look at a guy, and I always impartial. I always watch the defensemen more than the forwards. But Jugnoth, here's a kid that's highly skilled. Is he a Makar or a Quinn Hughes type of player? I don't know, but when he first got here, he really didn't play. He didn't ever have to play defense.
No, he does.
Now, but you look at what he does now. Now, he's not necessarily, knocking guys down, but he's getting in their way, and he's
right
defending,
where he needs to be.
Whether it's with his body or his feet, so it's tremendous to watch them gain confidence.
And they're playing together.
Yeah.
Dude, this team that we're talking about, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
This team I've noticed seems like 5 forwards, 2 of them play a little bit back. Like it's a very aggressive forechecking style, and I love it.
Well, I think the thing too that's helped is getting Gustav Olsson back too.
Yeah.
With him coming back, it's really allowed those other guys to settle down a little bit, to see how he manages the game, let the game come to him, do what he does in certain situations. So there's so much, I think, visual learning, particularly for today's kids, because they're all playing video games. I think that's where they can see when they go back and reflect on games via video work with the coaches, but also just watching what other players do as they play. And they could be an opposing player as well. So
what I think is amazing is how Yanni, he's come back and, he spent time up in Seattle. He's learned some things. It looks to me, this is all from the fan zone perspective, like the eye test, but he looks a little trimmer. He looks like he's moving a little quicker. He's definitely more purposeful, and it seems like the guys are really gelling together with him, and it's starting to make sense. It's starting fitting at the right time.
Yeah. And that's what coaches get paid to do.
Awesome.
Is putting the right guys together where they think, they're the best fit to complement all of their skill sets, whether it's offensively or defensively. And, goes the same thing with special teams. Who should be on the PK?
Yep. Who's
going to be on the PP? It's a lot more complicated than people think,
It's a lot of algebra, a lot of math going on.
It's well above my pay grade. I'm just there.
Well above my pay grade.
Wear the suit, show up.
I know how to coach from my seat.
Simple, yeah.
Yeah. I know what they should be doing.
Yeah.
I can call all the penalties from my seat.
We have all the answers.
Let's bring it in.
I love that. All right. So you've seen the show before.
You know about rapid fire?
Have you ever gotten to this part of it?
I never saw this part of the show.
It's at the end. That's why.
My attention span wanes.
Yeah.
Understood. All right. So this is just a rapid fire, and I'd be very curious in your responses to some of these, so don't even think about it.
If you even know what some of them are.
So what's your go-to food at the arena? Have you ever...
Hot dog.
Sumo dog.
Plain old dog, right?
I like
Fuego dog or just hot dogs. Awesome. What's your go-to meal in the Valley?
Mexican.
Awesome. Where
Any
do
place?
you... Where
Right
do we
down
go?
the street, Casa Mendoza's.
All right. That came out the holster quick, too.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm right there.
You
man.
didn't even think about it.
Didn't need to. What's on your radio come game day?
I'm a classic rock guy, or I listen to Outlaw Country on Sirius XM.
Love
There you
it.
go.
I none of that surprises me, so that's great. What does kind of a treat yourself day look like to you when you're getting ready to spoil yourself or just have a day for you? What's it, John?
Take a nap and golf.
Ooh, that's a good day.
You know what? Every player that's been in that chair has said the same thing.
And that is a good day. I like that. Are you a DC or a Marvel guy?
Probably Marvel.
Awesome. All right. Well, who's your favorite superhero?
Iron Man.
Yeah, me too. What other professions, other than what you're doing right now, would you have liked to try or done?
Professions. Probably. Would have been playing professionally, but had some injuries, so that didn't happen.
Football?
But yeah, I would have. Actually, I would have loved to play hockey, but we skated quite a bit in Philly, so.
Yeah.
We got a nice men's league going, or not adult league. We got a nice adult league going.
I'm retired.
Yeah.
I get too emotional.
I'm picking it up for, this stage in life. I'm actually I've never done it.
He's going to join our team.
I'll let you know how we do it. And actually, so that's what you've done. I mean, I was never exposed to it up in Washington, and then I get down here in the Valley, and all of a sudden, I'm hitting, middle-aged, obviously.
Yeah.
Hitting?
And just barely getting there.
Okay.
I'm just barely getting there, and then he's like, yeah, you got to play, and I see it. I'm around it. I get on the ice. I'm like, oh man, this looks like a lot of fun. So
it's fun.
Great job. I mean, across the board. I'm doing it. What's your favorite curse word?
Knowing everyone's watching right now.
And we can bleep it out if you want, but I'm just curious. Look at it.
I don't know.
Look at it.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's okay. We can off camera, but
You're not the only one who's declined to answer that question.
It's probably fuck. You know what I mean?
or answer the question.
Absolutely. And it does cover all ground. And it could be good.
It's
it could
all
be
parts
bad.
of
It could be
speech.
it could be wonderful. Well, I tell you what, John, I mean, you are John Legend. I mean, you are amazing. We're so thankful that you showed up. We've just been curious to get to know who you were as a person, and you didn't disappoint. So thanks for coming on the show.
Now, if you're out there, you're cruising the concourse and you see John walking around, you can say hi and be almost as if you know him now.
That's right. No, thank you very much for the time. This was
I appreciate you.
Very special, and I really appreciate you having me on and asking the type of questions that you did, because it's critically important for me to be as transparent as possible and share what I can.
You did great.
Well, just as a fan, I'm grateful for everything you and all your people have done and OVG has done, and just. If you see him, tell him I said thanks.
I will.
Yeah, let him know
Tell
the
him I
fans
said
on. Let
thanks.
him, Dave and Kyle.
So we're grateful.
Thank you. And one last thing before we end the show, can you look right down the pipe there, that camera right there, and just give us your best Go Birds.
Let's go Birds.
Let's go Birds.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you very much. See? Now that was fun. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Firebirds Fan Zone, please remember to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Those likes and subscribes help other Firebirds fans like you find the show so they too can get in on the fun. Till next time, go Birds!